Good afternoon, pilot teachers, and good afternoon, class. Okay, thank you. Sit down. Looking at what we have covered already, we've looked at scale. And for our work on scale, we did look at the definition to what a scale is. And the definition from our handout tells us that a scale is a ratio between a distance on a map and the actual distance on the Earth's surface. That is the definition that we gave for what a scale is. Also, we mentioned, or we looked at the fact that a scale can be used on a map for two purposes. And the two purposes are, one, to calculate the distance between places, and two, to decide on the detail of the features of the Earth's surface which can be shown on a map. So those are the two reasons that we have for why we need to use a scale. We also looked at the three ways in which scales can be interpreted on a map. And the three ways that scales can be represented on a map are: number one, a scale can be shown in a statement form, which means, or in other words, in written form. Scale can also be shown as what we call a representative fraction, or it can be shown as a ratio. And number three, a scale can be shown on a map in a linear form or in a line form. Those were the three ways in which we have looked at on how scales can be shown on a map. I also gave you some activities to do for homework, and the activities were to do some converting. One of the important things that we need to be able to do before we can use a scale, in calculating of distance especially, is to ensure that we can interpret our scale correctly. And especially for representative fractions or ratio, we need to ensure we understand what the representative fractions or ratio are showing. So we did some converting last week, and today we'll continue on with the converting, and as well as that, we are going to move on to looking at converting of scale which is in statement form to representative fraction, and also using linear scale and how to actually construct or draw up linear scale. And that's what we will work on in our lesson today. Our homework was to convert those different scales given, of which they were given in the form of a ratio or representative fraction, and your task was to convert them so that we can also give those scales in the form of statement, but not as it was given from the example. I gave you an example, and the example I gave was looking at the statement form as it is. We've already corrected, and from what we have corrected, we said if this was to be given in a statement form, then it will be simply 1:250,000. No units used. Because our understanding of a ratio or representative fraction was, for every one of that unit, whatever unit we use on our map, it is equivalent to so many of that same unit on the ground. So therefore, as it is, last week, we said that if we had to give this as a statement, then our answer will be 1:250,000, no units used. The second answer given was 1:100,000, no units given. The third one, 50,000. Similarly, 1/25,000, 1:2,500, and 1/200. We did that correction last week, no problems with that. Your homework was to ensure that If we had to convert or to change those so that we are using units of measurement, then if it was centimeters, where the 1 is or where the ones are, obviously it will be equivalent or is to that number, whatever is given here in centimeters also. So if we had to write it in the second statement form, second example, 1 centimeter will be equivalent to 250,000 centimeters. 1 centimeter is equivalent to 100,000 centimeters. 1 centimeter is equivalent to 50,000 centimeters. 1 centimeter is equivalent to 25,000 centimeters. 1 centimeter is equivalent to 2,500 centimeters. And 1 centimeter is equivalent to 200 centimeters. So the same unit of measurement. We can also use, instead of a centimeter to a centimeter, we can go from a centimeter to meter or a centimeter to kilometers. So your task now was to ensure that you convert correctly and you change those into meters or kilometers. I'm now going to get a couple of volunteers to come out and explain to the class how you have done the converting and whether you have converted using statement form, that is, you convert first and then later you change that into a statement form, into meters or into kilometers. We'll start off with Moses. And if you have to show the class how you can actually calculate and do your working out, you may use the board for your explanation as well as showing your working out. So Moses would come up to the front and to tell the class for the first one. Moses, to convert the first one, 1 is to 250,000 to centimeters. To meters and then to kilometers. Maybe before I select Moses, should we have some volunteers? Any volunteers from the class who'd like to give us at least explain to the students for the first calculation or working out? I want you to convert that. So instead of 1 centimeter to 250,000 centimeters, you convert it to either meters or kilometers. Volunteers. If we have no volunteers, I will select them. Dorothy. Dorothy will do the first one. That's the first one for you to convert. Number 2 or B. Silo, you are going to do the second one. Explain to the class, converting this to either meters or kilometers. That's yours to explain. Number 3, 1 to 50,000. Our friend right at the back, you will do the explaining for number 3 or C. 1 to 25,000. Mason, 1 over 25,000, that's yours to explain. 1 to 2,500, you'll do the explaining for 1 to 2,500. And the last one, 1 over 200, Gibes will do the explaining. Okay, quickly, let's start off with the explaining. Just explain to the class how you would have got your answer in converting these to meters and or kilometers. Dorothy for the first one, up front. You need to get your paper and the chalk is up there. Yeah, to help, maybe to help with the explanation. Yes, that's fine. And the chalk is here. You do the working out first and then the explaining after that, how you... And meanwhile, the rest of you, you're going to check your answers and make sure that you've got the same answer, which are supposed to be the correct answer, with what is going to be put up on the board. Put it on. Is it on?
This is how I got my answer. I divided by 100 because there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, and I got 2,500.
Dorothy said that she will only do up to meters because that's the unit that she used. But when we're writing our answers, you're not just going to write it as 2,500 meters. You're supposed to put it as in statement form, remember? It would be 1 centimeter is 2. Okay, we check. In statement form, Dorothy is supposed to say 1 centimeter is 2,500 meters. We double check. Did we all get 2,500 meters for those who converted the centimeters to meters? Yes? Okay, good. This is correct. Did anyone did the converting instead of to meters? The same question that is, but this time to kilometers. You did, Silo? Okay, you are going to do one of the calculations later on, is that right? Have I asked you to come up and do one of the calculations? Okay, let's give it to someone else who is not going to come and do any of the working out, converting to meters, to kilometers. Okay, here, quickly. If you have to convert to meters, or maybe just explain to the class. Since the working out might be similar to what's on the board, can you explain to the class to convert to kilometers? The method is going to be the same, but then it's the units which might be different, and our friend here is going to explain. Converting this to kilometers, the meters part is done already.
To find the kilometer, you have to divide by 100,000 to get the answer.
You divide by?
100,000.
100,000. Do we agree with him? Yes, definitely. Thank you. So here goes. For us to get this to change so that we have a written statement for the scale as 1 cm is equivalent to so many kilometers, we divide the 250,000 centimeters by 100,000 because there are 100,000 centimeters in 1 kilometer. And when we divide, you will note the zeros get to be cancelled out, and we have the decimal place here been put, and we end up with 1 centimeter will be equivalent to 2.5 kilometers. Okay, 2.5 kilometers. But this is not in statement form. To be in statement form, we have to write it in written words or form. So it will be 1 centimeter is to 2.5 kilometers to be in statement form. Okay, so that's the first one done. Good. Let's look at B. Quickly.
How I got my answer was 100,000. I divided that by 100,000 because there's 100,000 centimeters in 1 kilometer. So I just divided that by 100,000 and I got 1 kilometer. So 1 centimeter is to 1 kilometer.
We happy with her calculation out there? I think that's straightforward. If we had to change this to meters, should we also come up with an answer for our statement or how many centimeters to how many meters? Okay, so how many meters would we have for 1 is to 100,000 or 1 over 100,000? It will be 1,000. So therefore, our written statement will be, if we had to convert it to meters, it will be 1 centimeter is to 1,000 meters. Similarly, she has done the converting to kilometers. Therefore, it is 1 centimeter is to 1 kilometer. Good. We'll have the next person doing 1 is to 50,000 quickly. Okay, maybe use that side of the board. That's it. You get 500 meters. You're calculating. Were you able to come up with? You converted to kilometers or meters?
So this is how I got my answer. 1 centimeter, 1 is to 50,000. I converted into meters. I divided 50,000 by 100 meters, and I came up with the answer 500 meters. In the statement form, it's written 1 centimeter is equal to 500 meters.
Let's double check on our working out here. 50,000 converted to meters. We're all happy that it is 500 meters. Okay, for that is correct. For converting of 1 is to 50,000 to meters, 1 centimeter would be equivalent to 500 meters after the converting. Okay, there is one thing now that we need to be aware of whenever we are writing down our statement form or even when we are doing our calculations. If you look at a common error that is actually made by a lot of students would be how you write down your statement or how you put in the calculations or working out. 1 centimeter, is it equal to 500 meters? No. 1 centimeter is equal to 1 centimeter. So the word equal here, we must make sure that when it is the same unit equal to the same unit and the number equal to the same number, we can use this equal. But if it is not, then we are going to be making the wrong statement when we say that 1 centimeter is equal to 500 meters. It is not. 1 centimeter is equal to 1 centimeter. But it is, according to the scale here, it is equivalent to. So for the scale, 1 centimeter is equivalent to 500 meters. And if we say equivalent or is to, then this statement will be correct. And that's a common mistake that a lot of us make. We simply just say that, okay, we take the scale as it is and we say 1 is equal to 3. And it's not true because 1 is not equal to 3. 1 is equal to 1. Okay, so make note of this common error, and we're going to make corrections from there on when we're using scale. Okay, if this was to be converted into kilometers, then we would need to divide 50,000 by 100,000 centimeters to get it into kilometers, and then we would end up with a statement which is 1 centimeter is equivalent to half a kilometer, or 0.5, which is half a kilometer. Okay, you double check and make your corrections for those who had that. But for meters, this is correct. The only correction we are making is our statement to ensure that we are saying the correct thing and not equal to when it is not equal to. Okay, so we have 1 centimeter is equivalent or is to 500 meters for our answer here, or we can say 1 centimeter is to half a kilometer or 0.5 of a kilometer. Next calculation, that's for E.
How I got my answer is 1 centimeter is to 250 to 25,000 centimeters. 2 meters is 225,000 centimeters over 100 centimeters in a meter. Divide that, you get 250 meters.
Okay, thank you, Mason. We all happy with his explanation and working out here? Okay, and if we had to change this or convert this into kilometers, could we still do the same? Yes, but this time instead of dividing by 100, we are going to divide by 100,000. And what would be the answer in kilometers when we do that? 0.25 kilometers, which is a quarter of a kilometer. So 0.25 is a quarter of a kilometer. 0.5 is half a kilometer. So therefore, we can write that in a statement form. If we are converting to kilometers, 1 centimeter is to 0.5, or 1 centimeter is to a quarter of a kilometer. Okay, good. We move on for the next activity. Quickly, the next person. This time 1 is to 2,500. Just let me get the duster. The chalk is in there. Is it on? Press the. It's on.
How I got my answer? I converted into meters. I divided 2,500 over 100 because 100 centimeters equals a meter. And yeah, I got 25 meters.
Okay, good. Again, this is straightforward. I don't need to explain further. She's done the explaining and the calculation as it is on the board. We'll move on to the next and the last one. I think that's 1 over 200. Maybe for those who wanted to maybe convert to kilometers, then on the monitor, it will be 0.025. Again, we are dividing by 100,000. Okay, the next person for the last one, 1 over 200. The best.
As you can see how I got my answer was I got 100 centimeters equals to 1 meter. To convert it to meters, I just simply put 200 over 100 centimeters equals to 2 meters. Thank you.
And in statement form, that is what you were supposed to have done, was to give your answer in statement form after you've done the converting. So 1 over 200, according to the working out, Gibest has converted to meters and said that it is 1 centimeter equivalent to or is to 2 meters. And if we had to put that into kilometers or convert to kilometers, then it will be 0.002 kilometers because we're simply dividing 200 by 100,000. Some of the things we need to remember when we are doing the converting is we must know our units. There are 100,000 centimeters in 1 kilometer. There's 1,000 meters in a kilometer. There are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. And if we know those converting or conversions, then we are able to change our units of measurements correctly so that we can use the correct measurements when we are calculating our distances. Okay, the next lot of activities are going to be easy because you know, now that you know what to do, we're going to quickly now see if we can do the following. But this time, the statement, the scale is given in statement form. So therefore, we are now going to convert those to representative fractions or ratio. Remember, when we give our answer in representative fraction or ratio, we must always have the numerator as 1. Or our ratio must be always 1:2 something. So now we convert those so that we can have a ratio or representative fraction instead of a scale. There are 4 exercises there for you now to convert the statements into representative fraction. We've already done the first lot of activities. The first lot was converting or changing, the representative fractions to statement. Now we have the statements, and you are asked to convert those to representative fractions or ratio. And when we've done that, we've got some answers for that, and we're going to move on to looking at construction using scales, linear scale that is, and we're going to do the constructions in our exercise books also. I'll give you at least maybe 5 minutes to get those converted to representative fractions or ratio. Again, use the same idea like what we've done in converting first so that you are putting them in the same ratio. Those activities you also have on your worksheet. Those are exercise 4.2. You've got those done already for exercise 4.2. The second lot, yeah. We're now changing those to represent. Okay, what I'd like you to do is you move on to exercise 5 because that's the next thing we're going to do. You're going to do linear scale to show those two, A and B. That's what you can do while waiting. Okay, you can go ahead now to number 5. So for number 5, you are going to construct linear scale now to show those representative fraction. Sorry, not 5, 4. It's number 4, exercise 4. Do the 4 first, and then later we go to 5. So you can do the 4 while waiting. Yes, those are the ones A to D. If you've done them already, you can move on to exercise 4. Remember, in representative fractions or ratio, we are not supposed to put them in units, but we are making an assumption that the unit should be equivalent or equal because that's how you express a ratio tells you automatically that 1 is equivalent to something, so many of that same thing. So you don't put in the unit, so you've got to do some converting. So it's got to be 1:1:1:2. So you cannot say 1 centimeter is equivalent. It's correct to say that, but in ratio, it will not be correct. So you've got to use the same unit of measurement to show the equivalence. Lucky, Baiva, do you have a worksheet to work and out? Ask for one, don't just sit there. And I'll have my worksheet returned at the end of the day. It's these exercises here. Yeah. And it's on the board too. So when you're expressing as a ratio, it is better to say 1:2 so and so. Don't include the units because automatically when we see the ratio, we know that so many of that is equivalent to so many of that. So no need to write centimeter to centimeter. Just leave it as 1:2 so and so. Full stop. 1 over, okay, this first one is okay, good. Second one, 1:100,000, that's fine, good. So leave it as it is, S in ratio form, don't show the others. Okay, do the third one, C and D. We have 1 minute, one more minute, and then we'll correct the second exercises or second lot of exercises. Good, that's it. That's what you're supposed to do in ratio form. Good. Double check. CND. You done CND? Have you got CND done? No. Yep, good. Last one, D. Okay, we'll check on our answers. We'll check on our answers. The idea that we've used already in converting must be used here. But don't forget, when we are trying to give our answers in representative fraction or ratio, automatically we will know that when we do our converting, it must be a ratio of 1, which is the distance on the map, equivalent to so many of the same unit on the ground. So there is no need for us to write the units again. We simply put in ratio form 1 is to so many of the same unit on the ground. So if the first one, a statement of 1 centimeter to 10,000 centimeters, to put that in ratio, do we need to do any changing, converting, etc.? No, because the units are already the same, and it is the first number here is already 1. So therefore, our answer will simply be 1 is to 10,000. That's all. Because if we had to understand this and interpret it, it will simply tell us a ratio of 1 is to 10,000 is the same as 1 centimeter is equivalent to 10,000 centimeters. And this is what is already shown here. So the first one is easy, straightforward. Anyone got any queries or questions with that? No? Okay, we move on. The second one. 1 centimeter to 1 kilometer in ratio form of 1 is to so many kilometers. We are not going to use 1 cm to 1 kilometer. Rather, when we do the converting, it will be 1 is to 100,000, yes. Because we already know the 100,000 centimeters in a kilometer. We are changing this kilometer to the same unit of measurement, and we are going to write down 1 is to 100,000. Okay? The third one, C. If you look at C, the answer in front here, or the first figure is not 1. It is 10 centimeters to 100 meters. So we've got to change this 10 centimeters so that it becomes 1. And we do the same so that we change that meters, 100 meters, to the same unit of measurement that we are going to use when we convert this to 1 centimeter. So therefore, the answer for C will be 1 cm is equivalent to 1,000 meters. So, sorry, it will be 1 cm is to 1,000 cm. 1 cm to 1,000 cm. Or we can say 1 is to 1,000. Because when we convert and we do the changing, when we change this to 1 centimeter that is, then we'll need to also do the same on the side to change these meters to centimeters. Okay, we move on. Finally, the last one in a representative fraction, 1 meter to 5 kilometers. Because this is already in 1, it would be okay, but we need to change these kilometers here to meter. So therefore, how many meters are there in a kilometer? 1,000. So we simply divide by 1,000. So we will end up with a representative fraction or ratio of 1 is to, not 0.5, 500,000? 5,000. Yes. 5,000. So our answer for the converting of this into representative fraction or ratio would be 1:5,000. Okay, so we'll check on the answers for the first one as it is 1 to 10,000 or 1/10,000, the representative fraction or ratio. Then we have number 2, 1:100,000 or 1/100,000. That's our answer for the second one. Number 3, 1:1,000 or 1/1,000. That's our answer for the third one. And the last one, 1:5,000 or 1/5,000 when we are converting those statements into representative fraction or ratio. Okay, the last lot of activities, I will assign those for homework. And if you look onto your worksheet now, activity number 4 and activity number 5. This time, the last way of interpreting scales, and that is using what we call linear scales, and see if you can construct those scales in your exercise book correctly according to what you are asked to complete or to construct. So exercise 4 and 5 on your worksheet, that's for your homework. And that will be to draw a linear scale to represent the following RFs. 1:250,000, 1:50,000, and 1:100,000. That will also bring us to the end of our lesson. Class, if you can stand up now. I've already given you your homework. Don't forget exercise 4 and 5 on that worksheet. And I'd like to see you do the construction in your exercise books. Okay, to the pilot teachers, the keyword for today is linear scale. That's lesson 6. Good afternoon and thank you, class.